for having the discussion. And I would like to welcome Bhavna Somaya right now and Mr. Tushar Gandhi on the dais too. Yes.
Hello. It is a very overwhelming, overpowering film, and I think all of us are touched and choked at many places, particularly the end. He says in the film in one place that he should not be there to see any injustice, and today I think it is a happy thing that he's not there to see Ayodhya, he's not there to see Godhra, he's not there to see so many other things. While watching the film, we also remember that what all they did for us, and are we doing even a drop of it to retain the sanity and the peace of the country. What a film, what a performance, what a life, and what a message. I think it's a very special day today to have Tushar Gandhi with us, who is the descendant of the family. Many thoughts jog in my brain, many thoughts run in my heart, but it can all wait. Maybe he can tell us what thought process he's going through. What is it that he sees that we as audience and as outsiders were not able to see? And then maybe after he has explained what is going on in his heart and in his mind, we can, if everybody is in the right mind frame, to take questions from the audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I must have seen this film no less than about 30 or I've lost count, but at least 30 times. And not once has it not touched some chords in my heart. It's always been a very emotional experience. I don't know why it keeps happening after so many times being exposed to it, but it does happen. There are a few instances where the film moves me. One is, and it's very strange because they're not family connected instances only. One of the scenes which is really very emotional is, of course, the massacre at Jallianwala Bagh. But even more than that, the brutality at Dharasana, the brutality with which the British reacted to the non-violent protest at Dharasana salt works, is something that I have never been able to be aloof from. I just can't understand how that kind of brutality could have been practiced without any remorse, without any compunctions, and what kind of people there must have been at that time who, in the face of that brutality, did not flinch. Today, when we see policemen and armed policemen lining up the roads, we decide to take a detour. Even when there are protests, the leadership vanishes when the lathis come out. And here were ordinary people who just kept on accepting that brutality with absolutely no concern for themselves. That I still can't understand what must have been that passion, must have driven those people of that time. And I'm thankful that we had a generation of those people in this country 70, 80 years ago, because of whom we today enjoy the fruits of freedom. There have been a lot of thorns on this tree, but there are a lot of blooms also, and we cannot negate that. And then it takes me on to wonder where those kind of people disappear. Today we don't have a single living icon who can inspire us in public life. And 60 years is not a very big span of time in the life of a nation. And yet, we just don't find those leaders. We just don't find those people who would inspire us to make those kind of sacrifices for our nation. Are we a changed people? Are we a people who do not deserve this kind of leadership? Because leadership springs from within us. All these people who came sprang from within normal day Indians.
Tushar bhai, I would like to interrupt you for a moment. You said you've seen the film 30 times or more,
Almost.
and every time it moves you. And every time I'm sure, because according to the age group that you're watching the movie, there are new insights and new observations. So, what is the new insight you got today while watching the movie?
You know, it's very strange, the kind of things that you see and you get inspired by. And to the filmmaker's point of view, not only the philosophy or the message of the film, but the filmmaker's point of view, I was wondering how Lord Richard Attenborough must have managed it, you know, in the days when there was no CG. The amount of crowd scenes that he has packed these films with, and those were actual crowds. There was not a single special effect in this film. Wherever he showed people, actually there were those numbers of people in those scenes, whether it is the funeral procession winding down the Rajpath, or it is the platform of Motihari, or it is the Dandi Kuch. And today I was looking at it from that point of view, and I said, how must that man have managed to take such perfect shots with no jarring element at all, not a single person behaving in a manner different than what that situation must have wanted or what that situation in originality must have been. So today that was that was an insight that I got.
Just to brief our members, when Gandhi was being planned by Richard Attenborough, the television actors, the theatre actors, the cinema actors, the cinema technicians were all extremely happy because everybody knew about this very ambitious project that was being planned and how everybody wanted a small part of the pudding because it meant that they were going to be hired for a number of months, which means all without work actor were going to have the fires running. And Nasiruddin Shah was auditioned for the role of Gandhi, and I think he was devastated when they gave it to Ben Kingsley. And he, I remember, gave a very angry comment in the media where he said the foreigner is going to sit on his haunches and he's going to learn to speak the language. But when you watch Ben Kingsley, you forget Nasir's remark and you forget everybody and everything. He's just perfect for the part.
Yes, he was, but we must remember that there was, in Ben Kingsley, there was Karsan Bhanji, the Saurashtra Indian. He was the son of a mixed marriage, born and brought up in England, but his real name is Karsan Bhanji, and he has very deep Indian roots also, although nothing to take away from his acting brilliance, because I don't think anybody else could have disappeared so efficiently into that role and brought out the character without a single trace of the actor himself. You know, the director and the actor must have really worked hard on achieving that effect where in certain scenes you start believing that it is
Gandhi.
Bapu himself who is on the screen and you're watching him. But I must warn the audiences over here, this film was not history. This film was not a document of history. This film takes a lot of liberties with history. So please, please understand this while seeing these films and films of these types. That these are celluloid versions of those times. They are not historically accurate. There were a lot of things that he had to take liberties with because he had to fit them into a 3.5 hour format for celluloid. So history was sacrificed for the sake of cinematography or cinematic depiction of the life of Mahatma Gandhi. And so many things were periscoped, many things were brought forward, and very sadly many things were omitted also from this film, and that also was because while it was being scripted, Mrs. Indira Gandhi had a very very strong influence on the filmmaking. And so you will notice that the Bose brothers have vanished from the scene in this film. If you look at this film, you feel as if the Bose, Subhash Chandra Bose and Sarat Chandra Bose did not exist. And at one point of time at Dandi, when Bapu arrives at Dandi, they have shown Kamala Nehru receiving him. He says, he greets her as Mrs. Nehru. Well, Kamala Nehru was nowhere on the scene. The person who greeted Bapu at Dandi was Sarojini Naidu and Mithuben Pitit. But I think that was Richard Attenborough's pandering to the demands of Indira Gandhi for that kind of a thing. When Bapu arrives from South Africa the first time, Pandit Nehru was nowhere on the scene, neither was Sardar Patel. There was no reception for him, nobody came to meet him. And so these are the kind of things that we must understand, because many a times these days, people have started accepting this film as a historic document and interpreting history from what they see in this film and hear in this film. So please understand that this is not history. This is the life of a person being told in a cinematic manner, with all the compromises that need to be done while showing this life. Having said that, I don't think anybody could have done it with such mastery as how Lord Richard Attenborough finally achieved it.
Do we have time for questions, Pranav? Yeah. But before I throw the questions open, what we would like to know, Tushar Bhai, is that a lot of observations are coming from the public life of Gandhi. Maybe you can share some personal experience with your great-grandfather and something that was special to you, so it makes the morning very special for us.
Well, the one big regret in my life is that I never ever got the opportunity to see him live. I was born 12 years too late to be able to interact with him and learn from him, or learn by his side, experience life by his side. That regret will go with me to till my death. But my father spent a lot of time with him, and I think I'll just narrate a small story that happened with him in his lifetime. I think it has a lot of relevance to the kind of nation that we have ended up creating 60 years later. And this was, Bapu used to sell his photograph and his autograph. If you wanted his autograph, you had to pay 2 rupees, and if you wanted his photograph, you had to pay 5 rupees. I wish he had kept it for the family. We would have been very rich people. But he left the money for the Harijan Sevak Sangh. And all that money that he collected from selling his autographs and photographs was given to that fund. Once, my father was given a camera, and like young children, he became an avid photographer, and he decided that he was going to take a photograph of his grandfather. And so he asked Bapu to pose. And Bapu said yes, he would pose, but only after the 4 rupee fee was paid by my father. And my father said, no, you are my grandfather, I don't have to pay for your photograph. He said, you might be my grandson, but the rule is a rule. And so there was a contest between Bapu and my father, and one day when at Sevagram, Panditji and Sardar Patel and everybody was present with Bapu, and talks were going on, very serious talks, my father thought that this was the appropriate time to try and get a photograph of Bapu, and so he sneaked in and he took a photograph, thinking that Bapu had not noticed. Now everybody said that Bapu was aware of everything that happened all around him. It was also a fact that there were a lot of spies in the ashram who would go and report about everybody to Bapu, and so he knew about a lot of things that were happening in the ashram too. That evening, after the prayer meeting, he called my father and he said that I know that you've taken my photograph, so please now pay the fee. And that wasn't the time when there was any pocket money given to the children, so my father pleaded that he didn't have money to pay the fees. Bapu confiscated his camera. He said, as long as you can't pay my fees, this camera is now mine and you will not have access to it. About a few weeks later, when my grandfather and grandmother arrived at Sevagram and they went to greet Bapu and seek his blessings, and they touched his feet, Bapu, before blessing him, he said, Manilal, your son Arun has taken my photograph and he hasn't paid the fees. So first, please pay the fees and then we will have a talk. So my grandfather paid the fees and then my father was called and the camera was handed over to him. And Bapu saw that his grandson was very disappointed. He was very sad that, he had also been dealt with like everybody else. There was no special treatment for him. And Bapu saw this, so he made him sit down next to him and he put his hand on his shoulder and he said, Arun, this rule about fees for my photograph has been made by me and I impose it on everybody. You are a very dear child, you are my grandson and you are special to me, I love you. But if I start breaking the law that I have made or imposed for my grandchildren, then I have no authority to impose it on anybody else. Because a law is only successful if it is impartially imposed on all. There can't be any favoritism in that. Today in our nation, we all have sort of taken it for granted that those who are rich and powerful are in some way above the law. And the law only applies to those who are not powerful enough to subvert that law. It's not only the rich and powerful who impose that. It is also the society that accepts that is sinful. And I think this story with my father that happened with Bapu is something that we all have to keep in mind when we sort of demand out of turn favors just because we have access to the corridors of power. Because every time we do that, we weaken the rule of the law of this nation.
Is anybody ready with their questions? Yes, please go ahead.
Somebody right at the back.
Sir, why yesterday in the evening I was watching Andy TV, wherein you were also, sir, there. So it was reported that on 20th January 1948 there was an attempt on the life of the Bapu. If the proper care was taken at that time, this event of 30th January could have been avoided. So, sir, what you are going to say on this, sir?
In 2007, my first book was published, which deals with this entire conspiracy of Bapu's murder. Unfortunately, everybody remembers the murder on the 30th, but nobody knows the real facts about the murder and how it was planned and how it was executed. This was, in political murders, this was one of the most unique murders because on 20th January, originally when the murder was planned, the entire group of murderers assembled in Delhi and went to the Birla House at precisely the same time during the evening prayers. And only because one of them developed cold feet, the plan was foiled and thwarted. And Madan Lal Baba, who was a part of the group, was arrested because he was seen exploding a bomb on the wall, on the compound wall of the Birla House. It was supposed to be a distraction which would cause a stampede and the murderers were going to murder Bapu and escape over there. Unfortunately, when the bomb exploded, Bapu was able to influence everybody to remain calm. And the uniqueness of the whole thing was that eventually only the 5 who were later accused of the murder remained standing and the entire prayer group was seated. And they saw Madan Lal being arrested and they disappeared before he could point them out to the police. What happened in the next 10 days is very baffling because Madan Lal started confessing about the identities of his co-accomplices within an hour of being arrested because he was subjected to all sorts of interrogation techniques. I don't have to go into what happened in Indian police with the police, even it happens today. But he started confessing about the identities. That evening, he took them to the Marina Hotel, which is on Connaught Place. It still exists over there. And he pointed out the room in which the leaders were living. And the police found laundry over there with the initials NVG on it. And Madan Lal was giving hints of there being a journalist from Pune and a publisher from Pune and all sorts of things. For the next 10 days, the police just went round in circles. The Delhi police sent the confession of Madan Lal to Mumbai. And the Mumbai police refused to accept it, and the chief of Mumbai police said there was no plot to kill Bapu, there was a plot to attempt to kidnap him. And he said, I know all the accused and I'm on the verge of arresting them, but because I want to arrest the whole gang at one swoop, I'm going to wait. Nathuram and his accomplices on the 28th went back to Delhi, went to Gwalior, bought a gun, went back to Delhi. And on 30th, they were very apprehensive that there would be some policemen stationed outside Birla House from Mumbai or Pune. And they knew that if there were policemen from Mumbai or Pune, they would know about them, they would be able to identify them. So, Apte Karkare went and reconnoitred Birla House to see if they found any known policemen over there. Nathuram himself separately went and reconnoitred Birla House to see if there was any policeman over there. There were no policemen. The Pune police had photographs of all the accused. Those photographs were shown to the investigating officers 12 hours before the murder on the 30th. But nobody bothered to inform the Delhi police. It is another matter that Bapu refused to have protection or the screening of the visitors at the time of the prayer meetings. But that wasn't excuse enough not to do anything. On 30th January, the same group of people assembled at the same time, at the same spot, and almost in the same fashion as they had planned on the 20th, executed Bapu, murdered Bapu. And I refuse to believe that it was only because Mathuram Godse was a very efficient assassin. I believe that there was a lot of official apathy that went on to let that happen. Having said that, I think that was the best thing that happened to Bapu. Otherwise, he would have had to live to experience the shame that his beloved land was heading towards. And I think Nathuram Godse did him an immense favor by killing him.
I agree with that, particularly after listening to the whole story. Anybody else?
So I would like to ask, why nobody has joined politics from Gandhi family till date? Can you give some details, please?
I don't believe that the qualities of my great-grandfather are inheritable. I refuse to believe that because we are the Mahatma's descendants, we have the requisite abilities to be able to provide the kind of leadership. It is not as if we haven't tried. Some of the family members have tried their hands at politics. I myself have tried my hand at politics. And very soon I realized that there were some special qualities and abilities required to be successful in electoral politics. And I fortunately don't have those qualities in me. And so I would pray that we must break out of this belief of hereditary and descendancy that makes us capable of providing that leadership. We are a democracy, we are a people, and each one of us must think that they have the ability and the requisite expertise to be able to lead India if necessary.
What was the Karsan Bhanji thing you told?
No, that is Ben Kingsley's real name. He is from Kathiawad. He was born of Kathiawadi parents, but mixed parentage. And the Ben Kingsley is his screen name, which he adopted when he became a Shakespearean actor.
So his real name is
Karsan Bhanji.
And
So he has Indian roots, Indian blood. That's what I wanted to say.
Kathiawadi blood, brother.
Kathiawadi blood.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Pranav, piche.
India.
Stand up and talk so we can see you.
They blame Mahatma
Mhm,
for the
mhm,
partition of
mhm.
India, and like maximum of they don't know, like he never wanted India to get partition. They just they just know some stories, some rumors, and they just blame him. So I would like you to tell them that you were not responsible for the partition. It was due to the situation that time that he had to take the decision.
History proves that. If you read the history of the last 4 years of his life, you will realize how isolated he was, how discarded he was by the political setup, who was very hungry for the fruits of power, and they wanted it at any cost. But I believe the anger also stems from the fact that many people believe that he had the ability to stop that from happening. He had the requisite power to do anything. There was a belief that he could do anything, achieve anything. And so there was anger that he didn't perform that miracle too. It's not understood by those that what he achieved, even the independence that he achieved, was not on his own, of his own doing, or his individual achievement. It was because the entire nation backed him up. The entire nation stood behind him. If you look at the time after 1945, you see him isolated. You don't see the kind of people standing up behind him. Even the philosophy that finally ended up murdering him, who said that they did it because they felt betrayed that he did not stop the partition from happening, never approached him and said that, okay, we will stand with you. Let us fight together to avoid the partition. And I think that this entire excuse of killing him because he did not stop the partition was a very lame excuse, because the first attempt on his life was in 1935 in Pune, when he was he was going to be given an award by the Pune civic body, and he drove up to the town hall of Pune, and a hand grenade was thrown at his motor. Fortunately, he was saved because his car was delayed in the journey, and another car reached the venue before his car. And whoever it was, the hand grenade did not realize, because everybody thought Bapu had arrived, and the welcome committee rushed out and the band started playing the music. And a hand grenade was thrown from the terrace of that building, and it exploded just a second before Bapu's car arrived. And that was not the only thing. There were 4 attempts after that on Bapu's life in which people from Pune were involved. And in 3 of them, Nathuram Godse and Apte were identified as being part of those groups. And so in those days, there was no talk of partition. There was no talk of giving 55 crores to Pakistan. And yet 4 attempts were made on his life. Nobody has bothered to say why those happened, and why they all happened centered around Pune, or by the group of people who eventually on 30th January 1948 murdered him. This is a question that history has very efficiently obliterated. In my book, I have illustrated all these attempts on his life and the history of those attempts. Unfortunately, even in independent India, we don't find any police records of what happened, or if there was any investigation carried out about it. My book was called Let's Kill Gandhi.
I think you already asked one question. If there's somebody else, let's see.
May I now?
I think Pranav, this is the last question.
Since 10th standard, I was very interested in Gandhi's philosophy and everything. Maybe it comes from the atmosphere of our house. I read his book when I was in 10th. from that point of time, I have some questions in my mind, and today I have one platform to ask one of those questions. Gandhiji has this instrument of fasting and satyagraha. He uh, partly we can say he brought down British Empire by these instruments. Why he didn't? This is a very strong question in my mind for decades. Why he didn't use these instruments vis-a-vis Jinnah? He never did fasting or something. I'll die, Jinnah, if you don't come down from these demands. Why he didn't do that?
You must also understand that he never used the instrument of fast to blackmail. Whenever he went on a fast, it was after he had tried everything else. All the attempts were done before he eventually ended up fasting. With Jinnah, what could he have offered him if he had gone on a fast? Could he have offered him to become the Prime Minister of independent India? Nehru and Patel were opposed to it. The entire Congress was opposed to it. The nation would not have accepted it. So what would he have told Jinnah? You get out of here, go into political oblivion just because I'm going to fast against your demands? He never did that. He was a very moralistic fast unto that. It wasn't as if what happens today in the farcical fasts that happen, which have only selfish motives against them. He never ever used the fast as a weapon to intimidate anybody. When he went on a fast, there was an honorable solution for everyone in that fast itself. And that was imposed. And that is where many people who have seen the film on Bhagat Singh, made by Rajkumar Santoshi, believe that when he signed the Gandhi-Irwin Pact, he signed the death warrant of Bhagat Singh. Because they believe that he could have forced Irwin to pardon Bhagat Singh and saved his life. But Bapu never ever used the weapon of fast in a bullying manner. If you read his correspondence, there were 5 or 6 letters that Bapu wrote to Lord Irving urging him to spare Bhagat Singh. He requested him every time they met while they were negotiating the Irving Pact to be lenient, be merciful, be compassionate, and at least, if not set him free, at least commute the death sentence into a life sentence. But you must remember that the British never ever forgave violence against them. If you look at their colonial history throughout the world, wherever violence was used against them, they retaliated in a much more brutal manner. They took revenge for every drop of British blood that was spilled. And that is what happened with Bhagat Singh too. Would Bhagat Singh have wanted Bapu to save him? When Bhagat Singh decided to become a martyr, he decided that he was going to kill himself. He was going to allow the British to kill him. Because he believed that his martyrdom would become an example for the people of India of that time, and the youth would rise to follow him, emulate him, and that would weaken and shake the British. He never ever pleaded for mercy. Even his parents, when they wanted to file a mercy petition, he refused. So would Bhagat Singh have wanted Bapu to save him? The same thing applies to Jinnah also. Would Bapu have used his fast against Jinnah as a tool of blackmail? I have my doubts. He was morally on a very different plane from what we are on. And it is very difficult to say that because he used to fast against the British and succeed, if he had fasted against Jinnah, he would have succeeded too. What would he have offered? Just think of it. In his fast, what solution would he have offered Jinnah? That give up Pakistan and this is what you can get. When nobody was willing to endorse that settlement, nobody was willing to guarantee that what he would offer Jinnah in return for abandoning his petition, his dream of Pakistan, there was nobody. The Congress wouldn't have done it. So what moral right would he have told Jinnah that go back to England and restart your legal practice over there? And Jinnah had his ambitions too. It's a long question to answer, so I'm not going to be able to do it to your satisfaction, but in brief, this is what I would like to say.
If you get that power, like to change something or suggest something to today's free India and today's free government of India, what would it be like? What would you like to suggest government or change something in the government?
That's difficult. That's very difficult to answer because first, would I be able to resist that kind of power? It's very difficult to say that. It's very easy for me to give you a very noble answer just now. But when I had that power, almost a power of the Almighty, would I have the courage to resist selfish gains? That is something that I can't honestly answer just now, because I've never experienced that kind of power. So that is one thing that would be of primary importance before I can answer that question to you. But if I had that magic wand of forcing the Indian government to do something, I would say, please do something about the criminal disparities that this nation lives with. We are sitting over here in this ultra-modern theatre, enjoying the fruits of independent India, while a large majority of our fellow citizens don't even know whether they're going to have a full meal today, whether they're going to be able to provide education for their children, whether they're going to have the basic amenities required. In this film, you see the passion with which the South African Indian says that I will kill the first policeman who violates my house. Just think about the tribals in the Red Corridor. When the policeman, just because he suspects that they are sympathizers of the Maoists, razes their homes, rapes their women, and shoots them just because he has to fulfill a quota to his superiors to show that they are effective. And think whether we are one nation today. This is the danger that India is hurtling towards. This is the partition that will happen, which will be irreversible if it happens. And if I had the power, I would enforce a change of heart, not only amongst the government, but amongst all of us, because we have sort of shut that out of our system totally. We do not accept the fact Mumbai is the financial capital of this nation. Our economy today is measured against the Sensex of the Bombay Stock Exchange. And yet in Thane district, tribals die of malnutrition. So all the wealth that is created in this city doesn't even have an influence 70 kilometers from that center of wealth creation. So what good is that wealth? And so if I had the power of the Almighty, maybe I would attempt to change that. Not spend an obscene amount of money on the Commonwealth Games, which will begin, and which we all will rejoice, because it will be a great prestige for India. But the shame will be that just outside Delhi, poor children will be dying and will be forced to scavenge on garbage heaps to get a few morsels of food. And that is the shame that we should all be ashamed of. We should be absolutely ashamed that we live in a nation like this. Thank you.
Tushar Bhai said that he does not know whether we are one nation, but I think we are one audience assembled in this theatre. The movie has proved that leaders become icons not because they do things different, but because they do it differently. That Gandhi had the confidence and the willpower to get himself accepted the way he was, dress the way he was, and speak the way he was. And he also mentioned that there are no police records of so many things of those days. I hope Pranav Ashar of Enlighten Film Society has kept proper records of today, because today is a very special day to have this special guest with us after this film, and we hope to have many such memorable moments in time to come. Yes, Pranav, you want to go ahead?
No, that's it for today, I think, and we'll present Mr. Tushar Gandhi with this small memento.
Please.
My beta. Sonal.
This is Sonal Gandhi, Tushar Gandhi's spouse, and she joins us.
Thank you for joining. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very moving.